Hey y'all, welcome back to the show. You know who it is. It's your boy Jay Hennihan, and I'm back with another episode of How to Kill a Sacred Cow. Tonight on the podcast, we have the world famous, the one and only, Santos Bonacci, the master of Syncretism. We also have another special guest. His name is our old friend, Brandon Thomas from Expanding Reality. So this is how this episode is going to work. This is a brand new idea that we've been hashing out, and he has experimented with some success. It's called a Sharecast. So what's going to happen is part one is going to be here on How to Kill a Sacred Cow, and then part two will be on Brandon Thomas's Expanding Reality show, his podcast feed and his video feed. And you can find those links in the show notes, in the show description, and it's a beautiful way to cross-pollinate audiences, and it's a great way to share the love. You know, we're all about trying to lift everybody up, bring our friends with us to the moon, to the stars even. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about with Santos Bonacci today. We covered a whole mess of stuff. We covered syncretism. We covered law, the sovereign citizen idea, music, Led Zeppelin. It's all over the place. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I am very happy with the way this came out. So just remember, you want to go to the second part of the interview. The link will be in the show notes, and it'll be over on Brandon Thomas's Expanding Reality podcast feed. Now, I want everybody to go to Santos Bonacci's website, that is universaltruthschool.com. Of course, the links will be in the show notes. And I want you to check out all of his material. He's got all of his old stuff, all of his new stuff. He has a brand new online school that he's been working with. A whole ton of very talented content producers are on that platform. It's a wonderful, wonderful website. I want everybody to go check it out. I just want to keep this short. I want to thank everybody for listening. You are going to love this. Now, without any further ado, Santos Bonacci. All right, everybody, welcome to the show. We have a very special show for you today. We have Santos Bonacci on the program. Santos, please say hi to the people.
Hi, listeners. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm honored to be here, and I will endeavor to, bless you with the best knowledge that I know is the knowledge that will set you free, and I will endeavor to be my best servant that I can in serving truth and the gods.
Thank you very much for joining us today, Santos. And we also have Expanding Reality's Brandon Thomas on the show. This is a very special new show idea that we've been working on. It's called a Sharecast. Brandon, please say hi to the people.
Dude, Sharecast, grateful to be here, Jay. Thank you so much. Santos, pleasure to meet you, my friend. Big follower of your work for years, man. So thank you for what you've done and continue to do. And yeah, this is awesome. Sharecast, people. So we're going to do this in halvesies. You're going to go listen to this one now. This is part one. We're on How to Kill a Sacred Cow, like the dopest show ever. And then part two, we're going to split this bad boy, and you're going to come on over to Expanding Reality. Come on, we'll give you a warm hug. Come on down and check out the other part of it. And it's a really cool way just to cross-pollinate. Rising tide raises all ships, baby, and we love that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this, guys.
Absolutely. And there is no one better to have on the show for this new idea that we've been hammering out than Santos Bonacci. So Santos, maybe just give our listeners somewhat of a short biographical kind of snippet for everybody, just so they know where you're coming from. I mean, of course, most of our listeners are going to know who you are, because just like Brandon, I've been following you for years. But yeah, just a short little biographical snippet.
All right. Well, I'm just your ordinary guy growing up in rural Australia, Victoria, just north of Melbourne, the most locked down city in the world, by 3 hours on a tobacco farm. The only things that I could say would be different in my case is that I grew up bilingual. My both parents were Calabrian from southern Italy, and they had their Calabrian dialect. So languages featured in my early days. I was speaking 2 languages since I was born. And then the other thing was my parents converted to Jehovah's Witnesses from Catholic just after I was baptized at the age of 2 or 3 or whatever. And my mum got seduced by the Jehovah's Witnesses. And so I grew up as a witness and went to school very different. I was ethnic, and I belonged to a weird cult. So from the early days, I was always sort of a little bit outcast, but accepted due to my friendliness and way of being able to deal with people and be very diplomatic and just get along. You know, I've had that ability to diffuse people that didn't like me and to bring people closer to me that were shy of me or whatever. But so I managed, but I always had that chip on my shoulder that I was different because I had this weird religion and I spoke this weird language. So the Australians at school, being in growing up in a rural area, they were a little bit more, you could say, racist, if you want to use that word. Although I didn't really feel that because they always treated me nice. But when things got, I guess out of hand and they needed some leverage against me, then they turned on me as a wog. So I think you call them wops there, but in Australia, it's a wog, which comes from Western Oriental gentleman, I've been told. I don't know how that works, Western Oriental. But anyway, I was a wog. So, and of course, I had this black gollywog hairdo in my teenage years, so I was called a gollywog. Anyway, those are the two only things that really set me apart, which now have been a great contributing factor to my syncretism, because I learned, as a Jehovah's Witness, I did learn the Bible and theology. So I was grounded in theology and was always theological and was always waiting for Armageddon, this day that is upon us now where we're all locked down and everybody's could potentially starve to death or die from some, floating virus, which people believe in and what have you. So I remember reading the scriptures where it says, and in the last days, there will be pestilences, there will be floods, there will be famines, there will be a great tribulation. And so that was always with me, even during my teen years where I was worldly and left the witnesses. And then at 19, I left at 19, came back left at 13, came back at 19. So those are all the teenage years. I was a worldly boy. So did the typical teenage things, smoked my weed. Led Zeppelin and Monty Python were my two staples. Couldn't live without those two. And fast cars and a girlfriend or two. Stuff that the witnesses looked down on and condemned. So I did that. And it was distasteful in the end. Even at 19, I realized there's nothing in this world that will satisfy me. And so I went straight back to the Jehovah's Witnesses thinking I was going to be serving God. And I got stuck there till about 2002, from say 82 to 2002. That's a good 30 years. No, that's 20 years, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Good. I'm glad that number's been reduced, because I always thought it was 3 decades. And I thought, how the hell, how did I stay in an organization, which now I can see clearly is a controlled opposition run by the elites, fictional corporate structure, which just saps the money from people via contributions and gives them nothing in return in terms of spirituality. So me being a very spiritual guy, very mystical, transcendental, I was looking for things that would make me just be excited. That's why I listened to Led Zeppelin, because they brought me to what I say, how I call it, they bring you to the throne of God with just 2 or 3 bars of any song of theirs. It's just like, whoa, I'm out of the mundane world and I'm now flying with the angels. And Led Zeppelin just had that ability. So I'm glad they came along. They were my consciousness expanders. And they really, really helped me to keep sane. And Monty Python with their English humor, of course, magical stuff for me. And I'm glad of all those things. Everything that I did when I was younger, I'm still doing today. I'm theological. I'm a polyglot, multilingual, speak in 8 languages. I never say I speak 8 languages, because the ones toward the end, which are Japanese and Greek, are very, very basic, but very well grounded. I can still hold conversations in every single language that I've ever learned. So why do I mention that? Well, languages are very, very important in syncretism. The Pythagoreans said everything in the universe is made by the letters of the alphabet. Whereas the Jews, on the other hand, said, the Jews said that. The Pythagoreans and the Neoplatonists said all is number. So being very mathematical, of course, another famous Bonacci was Leonardo Bonacci, otherwise known as Fibonacci. He introduced the golden section into the Western Europe 800 years ago, fractions, the digital point. He deleted he was responsible for making the Roman numerals, which were very cumbersome. He made those obsolete virtually with introducing the Arabic numbers, which we still have today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are just 90-degree turned Arabic numbers, and then they are now the numbers that we use, which are way more efficient, and that was a Bonacci. So I do, just by that name, I do have a very strong affection for numbers, although I'm not a great mathematician at all. I used to know how to multiply and subtract and add and all that very well, but not deeply and nothing outstanding. What I was good at was spelling. I remember being young, I always passed the spelling tests, A+, 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 A+. And English is one of those tricky languages which has many silent letters, many exceptions to the rule. It's a language which is good with lexicograms, which means words within words. For instance, heart has the word earth in it, ear, hate, tear. You'll find about 30 words. I've got a nice long list of all the words that you can find in heart. English is pretty much the most acrobatic, versatile language when it comes to lexicograms. And it is truly the language of astrotheology. And I've been blessed by being brought over. My parents immigrated in the same year, 1954, I think. And then my parents got married in 56. I was born in 63. So I consider that a great treasure to be born in an English-speaking country, to have grown up as Jehovah's Witness and bilingual. Always had my telescopes. I used to beg my mother to buy me a good telescope, and she never brought me satisfactory ones, but I would, whatever I had, I would try and map out the stars. Maths, language, all of these things now, I realize, set me up for syncretism, because I did pay attention. Especially with language. I remember when I was about 12, 13, I used to have notepads with all these difficult words that I wanted to remember so that I could know them, so that I wouldn't be left in the dark when intellectual people were speaking and I didn't miss what they were saying. It annoyed me that I'd go to the church and the pastor would say all these words and I'm like, well, I don't understand that, man. Those are big words, you know. So little boy struggling. So I said about being very good with words. And when I was 14 and a half, I was sick of school. I was out of there as well. So I went and picked tobacco on my father's tobacco farm and my uncle's. And so I was a tobacco farmer. And all the while, I didn't leave school in order to not learn. I left school and immediately the day after, I joined a book club, the Double Bay Book Club. And I bought all these books, history, anthropology, archaeology. I bought as much as I could. So I had a library since I was 14, 15, right? And that has never changed. I've always been a book person. You cannot get syncretism without books. Intuition will not cut it. You need intuition, which I have a very powerful intuition, and I thank the heavens for that open intuition that I have, and I never, ever silence it. I always respect intuition and its role in understanding God, nature, the transcendental and everything. And I always have an open mind to all things. This is why when the stationary horizontal earth reappeared in my life after many years of laughing at it as a Jehovah's Witness, I remember many times saying, well, look how good the Bible is. It says the earth is round. And once upon a time, our ancestors thought the world was flat and stationary. You know, how stupid. Well, you see how the devil deceives people? Well, now I've realized that who's behind the 650 million mile an hour flying ball are the Satanist Jesuits themselves. Copernicus and his Copernican revolution, he was a Jesuit. So now I realized, and so when people were sending me these videos on the stationary earth, at first I laughed and said, please don't send me this rubbish, you know, but I'd have a quick look and see what they're saying. Yeah, they've got a point, but they don't understand physics, you know, they just don't understand. And they kept sending them. And I thought, well, I've got a responsibility here and have to do my due diligence, being a supposed truther and research and claiming that I'm teaching the truth. Well, automatically I realized that being an astrologer, that astrology only, the tropical Western system that we use, is geocentric. So to me, that everything just clicked after I realized that. Hey, what are you doing, man? You're fighting against Ptolemy's model. Ptolemy had the model down pat, the correct model, as the Earth being the center of the universe, thousands of years ago. Then all of a sudden, this guy called Copernicus comes along with this revolution. He revolutionized the world. And the Jesuits went about all over the plane of the Earth. China, they infiltrated China. It took them hundreds of years to persuade the Chinese to drop their flat Earth and adopt their globe, and the globalist revolution began. Hence, now we have global warming, global religion, global economy, global governance, global commerce, global lockdowns, global. And all they've got to power the engine of this absolutely demonic movement is a false idol, which they place on the kindergarten teacher's desk from kindergarten, so that little children can be mesmerized and bow down to a false idol and think they live on something that provably is not moving.
So I've heard you say this before. You believe Copernicus may have been an organization of people, maybe a group of people, conglomerate. Do you think the same thing for the English language? Like with William Shakespeare was said to have created most of the English language. Do you think maybe also that he was a group of people?
Yeah, look, let no one ever tell you that that the English language was created by men. English is Anglish, is angelish. It is an angelic language and has its source in the heavens from time immemorial. And I do believe that it is the one and only true astrological / astrotheological language of the universe. Hence, why it is the universal language today. Why would a made-up language turn up at the end of days, at the Gotterdammerung, as the language that everybody wants to speak and everybody uses, because it has 800,000 words in its dictionaries, whereas the next most voluminous language only has 200,000. That'll be French, German, and Italian, Spanish, etc. And English jumps 600,000 words from all the other languages on the plane. How does a language that is invented by Shakespeare or Bacon, Francis Bacon, or whoever they want to say, Milton, all these occultists, they're not smart enough to create this perfect language. English is absolutely the language of angels, and I agree with Linda Goodman. It is divine. It is the most worthy language to be called the universal language, and hence that's why it is right now and will be forever. You know, there's nothing that will displace it. There's no need to displace it. It's the most functional, acrobatic, versatile language that exists, bar none. Nothing compares to English. Nothing. I can do astrotheology in Portuguese, French, Italian. Many languages. I include all languages in my presentations, every single language, including Magyar, which is otherwise known as Magadan. Adan is Adam. Magadan, magic Adam. M-A-G, Adan. In Spanish, Adan is Adam. they say, the Hungarians, they say that Magyar or Magadan was the original language. And then English came from that, and Hebrew and all. Then the Hebrews will say theirs is, then the Basque people will say theirs is, then the Prakrit people, the Sanskrit people, the Tamils. I mean, the Tamils have got, every plausible right to claim that their language is the original, because it's pretty good. They're all great. The Mayans, the Aztecs, they've all got great language systems. But I believe I've proven comprehensively and exhaustively, without a doubt, that the original language is what I call etymological. It comes from atoms and the sounds that all the atoms make. And this is why we have a study called etymology. It's another way of saying etymology. Etymology is etymology. And I've shown in my presentations how all words derive, come from, and go back to atum. Hence why the Hermetica and the Egyptians said at the end of all of their phrasing, instead of saying amen, all is atum, all is atum, all is atum. Now in English, atum means the number one. A is the first letter. It has a numerical value in gematria of 1. T is the 20th, 2. U is the 21st, reduces down to 3. M is the 13th, reduces down to 4. There it is right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. A, T, U, M. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10, reduces down to 1. So all is atum. Same with Adam, which is another version of saying atum, Adam, because D and T are interchangeable and M and N are interchangeable. A is 1, D is 4, A is 1, M is 13. In this case, we do not reduce the 13 down to 4. We leave it as it is, add up all the numbers, you get 19. 19, 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 reduces down to 1. Let me give you a few other examples, because all of these words I'm going to tell you right now, they all mean one, and they all the same word. Atum, Dan, as in Adan in Spanish, Adam. Adam, atom, adem with an E, adem with an E. Aten, as the Egyptians called the god Aten, the Akhenaten. The Atenists ruled the world at one time. Odin, which is the Russian word for one, Odin, and which the Nordic people call Woden, their one god. So you go to Russia, and to say one, you say the name Adam. Odin means one. And Eden. There's 9 versions of Adam. Add up all those letters, whether you reduce the double numbers, reduce them or not, but you must be consistent. You can't reduce in the same word, you can't reduce one number and next door to that, keep it whole. You can't do that. You either, the whole word is reduced or the whole word is whole. And all of those 9 words, I'll repeat them. Atum, Dan, Adam, atom, as in the atom. Adem, Edom, E-D-O-M, which was the son of Jacob. Esau became Edom. Aten, Odin, and Eden, they all mean one numerically. How does it happen that Adam, Atum, Aten all mean one? Because you see, all is one, and one is all. As Stairway to Heaven of Led Zeppelin said, the last words, when all are one and one is all, to be a rock and not to roll. You see, that song was teaching people how to get to heaven. And people like to say, oh, weren't they satanic? That's a satanic song, Santos. How can you like Stairway to Heaven? Well, it's a Stairway to Heaven. It's not AC/DC's I'm on the highway to hell. They're not celebrating hell. They're celebrating heaven and how to get there. By buying gold, as it says in Revelation, Jesus says, buy gold from me so you can be spiritual rich. Clothe yourselves with linen so people don't see your spiritual nakedness. Buy salve for your eyes so you're not blind and you can see. Well, they're ripping off, that's a biblical song. Stairway to Heaven is absolutely 100% biblical. My favorite book, the Bible. So what we begin to see now is that the Bible is encoded with numerology all over the place. There are many, 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 many 12s in the Bible. I think there's about 80 different kinds of 12s, 12 disciples, 12 sons of Israel, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 sons of Jacob, 12 sons of Ishmael, 12 precious stones on the ephod of the high priest, 12 loaves of bread on the table, the monstrance table in the tabernacle, 12 copper calves holding up the holy sea in the tabernacle, 12 trees which leaves give life in the garden in Revelation, 12 pillars in the temple of my God in Revelation. The list goes on and on. And Josephus, the Jewish historian, and Philo of Alexandria, who lived around the same historical supposed footprint of Jesus Christ, they said, yeah, those numbers in the Bible, when you see 12s everywhere and 7s, that's from the Zodiac. The 7 are the 7 planets and the 12s are the 12 signs of the Zodiac, right? This is why when Jesus walks on the circuit of Galilee, you go to Strong's Concordance and you look up circuit of Galilee, the Zodiac of the Greeks. So Jesus, the Son, who walks on the ecliptic with his 12 disciples, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, now begins to make sense. Because why would the Son of God come and pick 12 of all numbers, a limited, exclusive set of 12? What if 14 said, look, no, 2 more came in and said, but Jesus, we want to follow you. We're great. We're apostles. Look at us. Look, we're equally as competent as those 12. No, it has to be 12. It has to be 12. I mean, I could do a lot of Monty Python skits about the rubbish that people believe that the Bible is literal. And, it's like teaching your children about Santa Claus. He's coming down the chimney, but don't have a camera ready waiting for him because you'll miss him anyway. Just in case, children, Santa Claus comes from the North Pole. Okay, mummy. And so this is what the pastors are doing in church. Oh, Jesus is literal, and he who says that Jesus didn't come in the flesh is the Antichrist. Who says that Christ did not come in the flesh, and the Word was made flesh. And they quote all these scriptures erroneously, right out of context, to prove their historical literal Jesus case, which is totally flawed, totally unrealistic, and totally stupid. Because a gospel is a gospel is a gospel is a gospel and will never, ever, ever be history. If it were history, well, it would sound like a historical book, but it doesn't. It sounds like a fairy tale on steroids. But it doesn't mean it's not telling the truth. In the fairy tale, in the myth, is contained more truth than in a whole book or a whole library of books, in one myth. And that's why the Bible is stupendous, because when you unravel it, you begin to see the layers upon layers upon layers in that book. It is not a one-dimensional book. It's a spiritual book, which means it talks to you on all the levels which you are created. You have an emotional body, mental body, a spiritual body, alchemical, sexual, physical, celestial, causal, etheric. You're made up of many bodies, and the Bible caters to those bodies and teaches you that you are just that. God made flesh. That's why it says the Word was made flesh, because you are the sons of God. We are the sons of God. Hence, we are gods, as Jesus said. Did I not say, does it not say in the Psalms that I said to you, ye are gods? Why are you diminishing yourself then and you think you're a poor little humble sinner? It can't do anything good. You will do badness if you think that. But if you know and remember that you are from God and of God and essentially God in quality but not quantity, then you'll get back on track. And then you'll respect yourself and God and others, because you will know your proper place in the universe, that you are not a mundane blob of meat. You are a spiritual, transcendental, magnificent, electromagnetic, undifferentiated, unqualified creation from source. And you'll always be connected to source. You will always be of the source. And woe
Absolutely.
unto those pastors who teach anything less than that. Woe unto them. Shame on them for diminishing all their adherents to their church and making them little like snails and worms, you know, in the presence of other beings. You know, the Buddhists in Japan, they laugh at the Westerners, how they diminish man into a sinner and a good for nothing, flagellating, evildoer. No, they always honored other human beings, but they never bowed down to other human beings. They bowed down to themselves when they bowed down, because they are glorious, and to show that they're honorable and that they know that they're God. How dare you bow down before someone? Oh, my Lord, my God, my God. You're just showing that you're weak. No one wants to see someone grovel. I don't know whether you've ever seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail, In Search of the Holy Grail.
Yeah,
Was
absolutely.
Was it a European swallow or an African swallow?
Yeah.
It's not a matter of where he grips it. It's a matter of weight ratios. I love that, dude. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I've actually been thinking a lot about that movie lately. The scene where they're trying to figure out if the woman's a witch.
Yeah.
And if she floats, she's a witch.
Yeah.
That was
know,
my favorite scene.
Yeah, when he's like, she turned me into a newt, and everybody's standing there, a full man right there, and he's like, well, go better. I say that, my wife and I say that to each other all the time. Like, it's just something you get over, being turned into a newt, you know?
Yeah, well, I like when they have God as a cartoon in the clouds, and he's saying, hey, what are you doing in those stupid coconut things? I want you to go on a mission and look for the Holy Grail. Yes, Lord. Yes, good idea. He says, of course it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yes, Lord. And stop groveling. I hate when people grovel.
And I love it, and they show this. At work we take this PMDB classes, it's personal management, disruptive behavior classes, and the one scene that the guy that does the class does every single year, he shows the scene from Monty Python where they're going to the cave where the bunny is killing everybody that tries to come near the cave, and they're like, what are you talking about? It's just a little bunny, and he's like, but it's fast and it's got the teeth, but look at the bones, you know what I mean? And it's a really great metaphor because it's like, it doesn't matter the appearance of the thing that you think you're witnessing. Look at the evidence around, you know? And a lot of people miss that lesson.
Perfect.
Yep, they run in headlong, ears back, nose forward to their death, like a lamb to the slaughter. And this is what the churches are churning out, sheeple and chattel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they're not good shepherds.
And here we are over here like, I told you, I warned you, but did you listen? No.
They had to get burned. I got burned as a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, you know, that's actually really fascinating. I don't know how I missed that from your origin story. How do you think that, I mean, you explained it pretty well in the beginning, but I mean, how does that really affect somebody? Did you realize that you were in a cult by the time you left, or did you just kind of figure that out afterwards upon reflection?
I just saw the artificial hypocrisy of the people, and that they were not anything of substance. There was no substance there. It was a dead entity. I was walking into a congregation of dead people, and it was not inspiring. It should have been inspiring. It should have been something with love, real love, not hypocritical love, doing things to the side of men, but doing it out of a good heart, really sincere good heart. But with the Jehovah's Witnesses, it's all about writing down your hours. How many hours of service did you do? 10 hours this month. I did 4 Saturdays in a row, 2 hours every morning, and you write it down, and you've got to put your reports in, brothers. Jehovah wants you to keep organized. This is a very organized organization here. Jehovah runs a tight ship. And so everything was for the appearances, brother so-and-so is going to give a talk. Brother so-and-so is outstanding. He's such a loving brother. And it's all just a show. And I just could see through it. My spirit was saying to me, this is not a place for you, man. You know, it's just not the right place. You're not getting satisfied. Why? I don't know. I suppose that happens when someone outgrows their partner and has to move on because their partner's gone in a different direction. And they didn't know that when they were married because they were seemingly going the same way, but then all of a sudden, things change. And they have to break that relationship because otherwise it gets toxic. You can't stay in it. And that's why divorce is a what's the word when you have a contingency?
Contractual. I mean, it's legal. It's
Yeah, but there is a thing called divorce because relationships like that are just, in most cases, are not meant to go forever. You know, you're supposed to get what that person has for you at the time, learn, grow, move on.
Yeah, it calls into question that idea of soul, like soul partners or whatever. What do they call that?
Twin flames.
Twin flames, soulmate. Thank you. I don't know why I just tarted out on that word there real quick, but it's so those because it's a vibrational thing, perhaps, or I look at it this way. This is why Neil Donald Walsh wrote in his Conversations with God series that you never know how you're going to feel on any given tomorrow. So this idea that you're going to just feel the same or have the same taste. I mean, people's tastes in food change all the time. That's why monogamy is such a challenging thing because of the vibrational concept at play here, that you have to vibrate at the same rate. Now, what's really great is my wife and I, we kind of vibrate together. And so we really have figured this out for now. You know, who knows? Because you never know how you're going to feel on any given tomorrow. But that's why relationships don't work of any caliber. That's why, though, it's easier when you're going through some sort of level up in consciousness or something like that, then it's easier to kind of lose friends. You see that happen all the time, but friends come and go. That's why you're vibrating at different frequencies. So like attracts like at that point. And so all of these things come in at you at which you vibrate. So partners are a little bit more challenging, but what I've also figured out because I've made this observation is the solution to this is to work on yourself, and both of you have to do it though. So once you go within, the reflections of that, which I think that all the world around you is a mirror of you anyway. You mirror those changes in your partner. And so it's actually something that you change the world around you by changing you, but even down to your partner, which it's very tricky, but yeah, absolutely possible.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So,
and the universe will bring the right people at the right time for your growth rate and the level at which you are, and to keep you, if you are moving forward and transforming, those people will turn up.
Yeah, 100%. So I wanted to ask you while we had you, because you're the man to ask this. So Jesus allegedly could walk on water. So whenever he walked on rivers, did he stay in the same spot and the river flowed underneath him, or did he go down with the river?
Exactly. Good point.
We need the answer.
Yeah. So Jesus walking on water is a parable. It's obviously not literal. You know, I mean, not that someone who has great powers of magic can't do that. And I'm not excluding that great ascended ones, masters of electromagnetism cannot do that. They can do anything. Jesus said, you can do these things that I do and more. And supposedly that was after resurrecting someone from the dead. He said, don't marvel. He says, you will do things like this and greater. So we have the power to do that, but it's obvious that it's not talking about a literal walking on water. Otherwise, you would see the wording would be like specifications or information that is more coherent logically and not mythologically as such. And Jesus stepped out of the boat and walked on the waters and looked back, and his disciples were sleeping in the hull. And Peter came and saw the Lord and said, Lord, may I join you? I can see you're walking on water. And Jesus said, yes, but have strong faith. And so Peter started walking on the water as well. And then all of a sudden he started sinking. We see in here is a great lesson that was being taught by the scriptures, that we need to walk on the Roman maritime waters and not swim and be asleep in the ship, the citizenship, like the disciples were. They believed in their they didn't have enough faith to walk on waters. You see, to get out of this system and lose the legal name, in my case, Bonacci, which belongs to the people who copyrighted it, the Jesuits and the Vatican, it's not my name. The only name I have is the name that was given to me by my parents, which is Santo. So in order to lose that and live off the grid and live without the government big brother supporting me, the government, I want to pay taxes so I can have welfare, and I need my payments and I need my bank account. One who is able to do that and remain in honor and have his own wealth, he needs to have faith in God, because now he is not under maritime law. The cops, the judges, the government, the politicians, they can't touch him. He's out of their jurisdiction. Out of their jurisdiction. In fact, if you look at what's going on in Australia right now, the Aboriginals have reclaimed Australia, and they've pitched their tents in front of the Canberra Parliament House. And the other day, 50 or 60 black guarded, armed federal police came marching down to arrest one of the Aboriginals. And the chief of Australia, the chief of the Aboriginals, he came out and says, "Get out." And you see the policeman backing up. No one has the power to do that who has a corporate name. Me, Mr. Bonacci, I can't do that. I've sold my birth. I've sold, like Esau sold his birthright to Jacob for a pot of stew. When we were children, we had our footprints and blood taken from the sole of our feet and given over to the crown, to crown copyright our name, crown meaning Kronos, meaning Saturn, meaning Satan. We're gone. But this Aboriginal, you see how he commanded 60 fully armed SWAT team, federal police, and they all walked backwards like this, and they listened to him in fear. Every one of them was shitting their pants, because he said, "You have no jurisdiction. You're illegal. You're in my land. I'm the king. I tell you to get out. You've got to get out of this country now." And you know what? There were politicians there. There were all sorts of powerful, creepy-looking Masonic Jesuit type. They're all of the same ilk and stock. They're all from the Freemason look, that Men in Black look, corporatized, lobotomized, order followers, robots. We will kill you and tase you if you don't listen to our mandates. Where's your mask? And yet that Aboriginal, he was walking on their waters. He wasn't in their citizenship sleeping like the disciples. See, the Lord Jesus taught us how to be a king, as he taught us well how to be a priest. And he said, "You will be kings and priests with me for 1,000 years." Now, I'll have a smoke on that, since I saw you having a smoke.
Dude, this is awesome. Santos, it's just an honor, dude, just to hang out with you. Like we said, I've been seeing you for years, man. This is so cool.
Likewise.
Yeah, it really is, because I remember I might have first encountered your work maybe 2012, 13 maybe. And I think I just saw one of your presentations where you had, the Zodiac. You had the Zodiac circle on the back, and I'd already been pretty big into astrology at that point. And it was around 2010 I started learning, that you're more influenced by the way that the planets are aligned at your birth. So it's more dependent on your rising and your descendant and Mercury, all that stuff. And when I first saw that, I don't think I could I couldn't think straight, I think, for maybe a couple of days. And I was just like, no, it is all the same. Like, all these different religions, they're saying the exact same thing. It was the first time I encountered that. And I had seen Zeitgeist after that. But it was, I began reading the Bible with that understanding that there was something deeper under there. And it was your work that actually did that for me.
Oh, look, the Bible is the greatest treatise on astrology that ever existed. Everything in that book is astrological. From the verse in Job 38:32, where God says to Job, "Do you know the Zodiac?" which is translated Mazzaroth, by the way. Do you know the Zodiac, Job? Do you know how to tell forth Orion, Ursa Major, the Pleiades, Bootes? Do you know my constellation of the circle in the sky that goes round and round every year, every day over your head? Do you know it? And Job was like, yes. Well, because if you don't, I will reject you. So this is why Jesus taught in parables. This is the disciples said, why do you teach in parables, Lord? Because it is forbidden to teach this to the gross-minded individuals, because they will trample on these pearls. It's like throwing pearls to swine. You must protect these words, and you must understand that when I speak like this, it means this. It doesn't mean what you thought I said. You have to think. To be a proper Christian, enlightened, you got to think. You just can't take words at face value. You know, if I say John said Peter is an idiot, well, that was Peter talking there. But if I say John said Peter is an idiot, well, then that's John calling Peter an idiot. So just by what do you call that in grammar where you pause?
Just a comma, just a break.
Yeah, just by that function in language, you can change the meaning of a word. So let's do it again. John said Peter is an idiot. John said Peter is an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's why the Hebrews never put any commas and never put any punctuation. That's it, punctuated. When you speak with punctuation, you can change a 4-word sentence and invert it and flip it 180 degrees to mean the opposite. So you never listen to when a cop says, "Hey, you," and you're walking with your back against him. What's your tendency to do when you hear that?
Turn around.
The moment you do, you're in a contract. It's called an adhesion contract. And guess what? Next thing, he's got you in handcuffs and he's asking you for your ID. What's your surname? What's your address? What's your postcode? All postcodes are official. All officers are part of the Inquisition. So are persons. Persons comes from parsons, and a parson is a minister of the church. That's why we have the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Minister of, all these ministries. What the hell are ministries doing in government? What are officers? Officer, can I have your number, please? And people think they're smart when they call policeman an officer. Officer. Well, they're just confirming that they're talking to an inquisitional officer, because all officers, all of them, and postcodes, all of them belong to the Vatican. That's why when you do a tax return, they want you to get a tax rebate by claiming that you have an office in your house and you can get 10% off your tax. They want you to have an office because they want you to be officers. Every taxpayer should be an office, and they should all be persons. You know, we don't want to be persons. I'm a man. I'm not a person. I am also a person, but I know what the word means, so I don't just say I'm a person. I use the word. I don't mind. I've reclaimed that word. Some people in the sovereignty movement say, "Oh, don't use person. Just don't use it." No. You can use it. You can use the word understand. You don't have to revert to understand and overstand and all this hocus pocus. You can say the word understand. It's fine. But remember that when the judge says, "Do you understand?" and you say yes, you're going to jail. Because you stand under him, because you said, "Yes, I understand." So what are you going to speak in court? English or legalese? Because most of us, even on the street, we are speaking legalese, and we are entrapping and putting spells on our brothers and sisters and ourselves by using it. You see, when you go into court, I would suggest you say, "Can I please know what the official language is?" What did I just say? Official language. Well, every country, not nation, nation is sovereign, country is corporate. Every country has this thing what they call a where was I going? What was the word? Sorry, person? No, not person.
Sovereign. You were talking about sovereign, and whenever the language the official language of a nation
Right.
versus the country. Okay.
Sorry, every country has an official language. You go to Wikipedia and you go to Nigeria, and it'll tell you population, official language. Ooh, but do the nomads in Nigeria and the tribes in the woods and in the hills, do they know this official language? Yeah, because it's the office of the Inquisition. That's where the main office of the world is, the post office. They own it. They control offices. You don't want to be an officer or a person. You want to be a man standing on the land and hold your ground. And do not be swearing questions. Sorry, sir. Sorry, I don't answer questions. Why don't you answer questions? I don't answer questions. What are you doing here then? I don't answer questions. No worries. All right. Before I go, you got the time there? Trick. Trap. Because if you answer, then you just thwarted and forfeited all of what you just consolidated and established with the fictional officer, that you don't answer questions. So why did you go and answer him when he asked for the time? Handcuffs.
But
Jail.
is even answering his question by saying that you don't answer questions considered engagement?
No, because you have to answer. I mean, not answer. You have to speak, because silence is considered guilty. Silence is considered no answer, and it's the same as talking too much. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know how this diabolical system has set up its rules of what's it called? Rules of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
They have their tricks, and they're trained. They are trained. You'll see cops always do it. What's your name? Gives you got any ID? Where do you live? In my body. Yeah, you got a house here. Where do you lay your head in your bed? What's the address? They want that address. Why? Because an address is an office, is a person, is a corporate fiction.
I've seen a lot of these videos, these sovereign citizen videos on YouTube, and they're always spectacular. What's the origin of this whole legal system, and when was it that people started getting wise to the fact that they could opt out of it?
The roots of the legal system, you must know and understand, is ecclesiastical. It is rooted in a satanic religion, which has co-opted the Bible and inverted its true meaning to a corporate dead letter of the word. And so that's why they use the Bible. And then people say, oh, you like the Bible, Santos, do you? Oh, well, well, it's the Freemasons put it in all of their courtrooms and it's a satanic system. Therefore, the Bible's satanic. No, neither are the courtrooms. They are all designed as churches. They have a pulpit, they have a bench, they have a cleric, which is a clerk. Well, one's religious and one's secular. A clerk and a cleric, it's the same word. You see, you go for a hearing, which is a confession. They summons you. You can only summons the dead. It's not a subpoena. You actually go in with their copyrighted legal name, and they summons you, and people don't get it, and they go in as a person, and they tell them their name. My name's Santos Bonacci, and I'm here to contest that in the hearing. Well, the judge is like, we've got one right in the palm of our hand, an idiot who's come to a hearing. Only dead people and people who have sinned go to a hearing, or dead people reply to a summons. So If you just think about it and study it enough, you will see that it's all ecclesiastical. And this is where many have become shipwrecked and run amok in the courts because they don't understand this. They don't understand that it is an ecclesiastical foundation upon which mercantile, commercial, contract, trust. Anyway, all these laws, we've heard of maritime, admiralty law, mercantile, all of those are underpinned by ecclesiastical. So what we have is an inquisition.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for listening to part 1 with Santos Bonacci. Make sure you head over to Expanding Reality with Brandon Thomas to check out part 2 of the interview, and of course the links will be in the show notes. Thank you very much. Have yourself a wonderful day. Peace.